summer days. It is yet another marvelous backdrop for special athletes on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Yes, once again, we are time zones and time zones away from home at the Capitol Gymnasium to watch the world's greatest gymnasts in the 7th World Cup of Gymnastics. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Al Trautwig in Beijing, China. What you'll see today happened today in Beijing, and that's the first time that we've been able to say that through the great history of ABC's Wide World of Sports. A satellite transmission the day the event occurred from this Far Eastern destination. Now, the athletes we will see qualified for this event through their performance at the 1985 World Championships in Montreal. The top 18 finishers were invited, and the top 18 finishers did not include any Americans, so we won't see any. Now, a man who's watched these gymnasts grow through the years and watched their performances in Montreal that day is with me again, Gordon Maddox. Gordon, if the Americans aren't here, who will we see?
Well, Al, we'll see 3 gymnasts from Japan. With their rich heritage, they could undoubtedly be a factor. Silvio Kroll from East Germany is here. He just barely lost the World Championship last year. But who we're really focusing on are 2 great men. Li Ning from China obviously is the sentimental favorite. He won 6 of the 7 gold medals at the last World Cup. And competing against him will be Yuri Korolev from the Soviet Union. Now, Yuri has won 2 World Championships and is undoubtedly a factor here. However, if there is an upset, I think we have to look to Valentin Mogilny, a young Soviet gymnast that just might be the classiest young gymnast to come along.
Now preparing to perform on the rings is Li Ning, 3 times a gold medalist at the Olympic Games in Los Angeles, in front of the home fans at the Capitol Gymnasium.
He's had a bit of a problem in the past with his shoulder. I think it's probably behind him now. And look at the arms on this man. And he'll show you tremendous strength right at the very top of his exercise. He just changed coaches, and they say that the new coach, rather than working on his technique, is trying to teach him to be a consistent winner. Watch this now. Right into a planche. D move, the highest difficulty you can get.
Gordon, it's a good time to explain the scoring, I think.
Well, the maximum score a gymnast can receive is a 9.4 unless they get extra rewards for courage, originality, or virtuosity. Each of those could give them another 0.2 of a point. And you can bet that Li Ning is going to be cutting for all of the bonus points he can get, and maybe even the rings themselves.
Look at the definition and the muscles of Li Ning.
Now, he's picked up a little swing, probably not enough to be a deduction, but it is called the still ring event. Now, watch this dismount. Layout, double flyaway. Slight mistake, not a major problem. It's a good exercise.
Gymnast Valentin Mogilny, who has already begun his routine on the rings at the World Cup of Gymnastics here in Beijing. We're watching him via the pictures courtesy of our friends at Chinese television. We should tell you that Li Ning's score on the rings was 9.8. He's off to a great start. Gordon, this 20-year-old is someone you like very much.
Yeah, and he's off to a good start here. He's the reigning national champion of the Soviet Union. This, however, is not his best event. He's working very well, but he's so tall it's difficult for him to do the difficult strength moves. So far, he's just coasting along. Layout, double flyaway for a dismount.
Nicely done by the man who finished 6th in the all-around at the World Championships in Montreal of '85.
Let's take another look, Al. He bails out of his handstand, takes a high, it's called a giant dislocate. Good tap now. High release for a layout, double flyaway. That's as high as the difficulty goes. Nice exercise, but not really sparkling.
9.8 is the score to Valentin Mogilny. So we have a tie at the top between Li Ning and Valentin Mogilny. And now we will cross the arena as this competition moves along. Now stepping to begin the floor exercise is the 24-year-old Soviet gymnast Yuri Korolev, the 2-time world champion, 1981 and 1985, and in '81 he was even the floor exercise champion. In '85 he finished 2nd.
Watch this opening. A layout double back, and he really rolls it around. You know, Al, the Soviets have never said that they thought that Korolev was their best gymnast, but he is such a consistent performer that he keeps chunking away, and all the other people eliminate themselves with mistakes. He is really unbelievable. Here comes a nice front pass. Now, remember Kurt Thomas? Here comes some Thomas flares. Right up to a handstand pirouette. Now, Korolev has from 50 seconds to 70 seconds in which to complete his routine. He has to do at least 3 tumbling passes. He has to show a balance on either one arm or one leg. Here comes the one leg balance, I would guess. And he has to show some strength. Now remember, his maximum score is 9-4 unless he has extra courage, originality, or virtuosity. Here comes another double back for a dismount. Great exercise.
A little hop at the end, but a lot of power and strength and some artistic flair for Yuri Korolev of the Soviet Union. And you can just about see the confidence of past performances oozing from his muscles, can't you?
Yeah, he really does. He just kind of floats through the entire competition. Doesn't show any real highs or lows.
The score for Yuri Korolev of the Soviet Union is 9.7, awarded by the judges. So he will move right behind Li Ning and Valentin Mogilny, his teammate, to Zhu Zhiqiang. Now remember, we have 3 groups of gymnasts, and they are constantly in motion performing around the arena.
And Zhu is really built for this exercise, Al. He's long and lean.
He's 23 years old, from the city that has brought us great cuisine and a great language, Canton. So Zhu Zhiqiang, one of the men who certainly could do things, now waits for his score. Let me tell you now where we are. We're 13 time zones ahead of New York and about a 21-hour flight away from it. Beijing lies on the same latitude about as Philadelphia, which means the temperatures here are about the same, but life here is very different. There isn't a fast food joint in sight, but we'll be showing you some of the sights throughout the show. 9-5 for Zhiqiang, and we'll be back in a moment.
Bud Thunder. It's revved up and coming at you.
Gymnastics in Beijing, we've already seen an early domination by the Chinese and the Soviet gymnasts. Here is Li Ning, tied for the lead after the first rotation as we move to the second.
Oh my, a double twisting Sugahara. Terrific vault. Not a great landing, but it's such a difficult vault that the deduction shouldn't be all that great. All right, let's take another look in slow motion. He's got to get great repulsion from the horse now. Watch the lift. Pushes off, round off with a double twist. Boy, there's a lot going on up there.
And for the quiet artist from Guangxi in southern China, a 9.6. That will give him a total of 19.4 to set the pace for this second rotation as we return to Valentin Mogilny, also on the vault.
Mogilny is not a great vaulter, but he tends to be very clean. He has great style even in his run. 4.5 twisting, front handspring, front somersault.
What tremendous spring in his legs to recover from that deep dismount.
Really, he gets down so low. We'll have to take a look at it in slow motion. Now let's see if his knees touch the floor. If they do, it's a major deduction. Gets up pretty high. He just simply doesn't get it around far enough. Yes, he does touch his knees. That could be a heavy deduction for Mogilny.
And the judges will think about that as we will focus in on Yuri Korolev.
During the World Championships, excuse me, Al, they actually rewrote the rules because of Korolev. There are no stops allowed, no handstands in this event, but watch what Korolev does. He did this in the 81 World Championships. He stopped, did a semi-press to a handstand pirouette, and the crowd loved it so, the judges and the gymnasts loved it so that they rewrote the rule book, and it's almost stock now.
Let me tell you that Mogilny's dismount really did hurt him. 9.2. And Korolev nails his dismount.
Again, Korolev has become Mr. Consistent. Nothing sensational. He just doesn't make mistakes. Watch him again now. These are his flares. Stops it, and it's actually become a strength move. Presses back up into the handstand. Pirouette, you'd think he was working parallel bars.
Well, they're never satisfied, are they?
Never. Drops back in now and continues his scissors.
And the score for Yuri Korolev is 9.55. That puts him 15/100ths of a point behind Li Ning. Now to another fine Soviet gymnast. Vladimir Artemov on the horse. He's 21 years old, from a town of his same name, Vladimir, in the Soviet Union.
He's a good one. He was second in the all-around in the World Championships in Montreal. Now he's worked behind his back. He's covered the entire horse. Now he has to cover all three parts of the horse. Here his flare moves. Got to get into some scissors. This is the requirement. He's now fulfilled all the requirements. He doesn't work with as much stretch as I think he ought to. His hips aren't quite far enough from his hands. Boy, it's a nice exercise, though.
And the 83 world champion on the parallel bars, Artemov, moves away from the horse. He'll be thinking about his next rotation, of course. Zhu Jiqiang is the next man we'll focus on. He's performing on the rings right now. Remember, he got off to a great start in the first rotation.
Now remember, in the rings, power is at a premium. And this brute strength is really a sort of a demonstration of weight to strength ratio. I don't care how strong you are. If you're also heavy, you just can't perform well. Now watch this. Back pull to a cross, pull out to an immediate support.
Artemov's score, by the way, 9.70. He will be right near the top. Could be in the top 2 or 3, depending on what Jiqiang does here on the rings.
Well, he did a lot. He just did an inverted cross, back to another cross pull out, to another cross. Now he's required to show 3 separate strength moves. He's fulfilled that and more. Here comes a press to a handstand, and now he has all his requirements behind him. And he's doing really a lovely routine, Al. Excuse me.
You know, we thought we were going to see the Japanese and perhaps Silvio Kroll of East Germany, but really it has been the Chinese and the Soviet gymnasts who have dazzled us.
That's a dandy.
Zhu Jiqiang delighting this crowd of 18,000 who sold out this arena months ago.
Well, let's take another look now. Big pull into a layout double flyaway, and with your body stretched out, it's a long way around, and as you can see, he had to bend his knees just a little to get it around.
And the score, 9.75. The Chinese soldier takes the lead. Zhu Jiqiang is the leader, leaning, and Artemov second and third. Tiananmen Square in Beijing is to China what the Mall in Washington, D.C. is to the United States, what Red Square and the Kremlin are to the Soviet Union. It is the World Cup here in Beijing. Zhu Jiqiang, Li Ning of China, are 1 and 2. And this man, Yuri Korolev of the Soviet Union, is in third. He's preparing to mount the parallel bars to begin the 5th rotation.
This is normally a strong event for Yuri. Peach basket to a handstand. Here comes a giant swing into an immediate pirouette. Another giant swing, and he catches the handstand. Stutzkier. Now he's only allowed to hold 3 of those handstands. He wants to take every move he can through or near the handstand, but he can only stop 3 times. There's his press to a handstand. Back to a hand. He'll do another stutz to a hand, and now here comes his dismount. Double back off. Really a solid exercise.
Beautifully done. You know, the Soviets have 3 gymnasts here. One seems to be better than the next. We'll see what the judges thought of Korolev in a moment. Now, just to wrap up the weightlifting that you saw earlier on ABC's Wide World of Sports, at least 1 athlete from each country there was tested. 3 athletes of the 90 tested positive for drugs, 1 each from France, Egypt, and Nigeria. None of the athletes who won medals tested positive, though. The 3 who tested positive received suspensions for at least 2 years. We are now to the high bar, and Zhu Jiqiang.
He'll really show you some moves on this thing now. Oh my! This event just is unbelievable. Since they've required the release moves, it has really become an exciting and a bit of a terrifying event.
Now he looks like he's fine, but what about his standing? He was the leader coming into this rotation.
Oh, it just about kills his chances. Now watch. He takes this up just a little too early. Takes him too far away from the bar. No way can he reach it. Looks like a dangerous landing. It's really not that bad. His coach probably was hurt more. Now he loses 5/10 of a point, is allowed to remount, but normally cannot repeat the move that he fell off on. Now he's in forward giants again. He pivots to reverse giants. There's a 1-arm giant into an immediate Kochov.
Gesundheit.
Thank you. Now he'll get set up for his dismount there. Excuse me, he rolls into Eagle Giants. Here we go. You can see his coach patting his mitt there, kind of getting ready to catch him. And a layout, double flyaway. Boy, what a strong land.